So this morning we're looking at the second reading on the body of Christ, one body and many parts. It's been great to see just what the body is made up of and how it all works, and thank you to Clive for that great presentation. So it's rather strange that Paul would say in our reading, together you are the body of Christ. Each one of you is part of his body. What a statement. You, each one of you and me, are the body of Christ. In this passage, Paul was speaking to the church at Corinth. The city of Corinth was a very difficult place for ministry, so much so that Paul spent his longest stay there after having left the company of Barnabas. He stayed in Corinth for 18 months, working through the many problems that were dividing the Corinthian church. Corinth was a seaport, making it a cultural melting pot for various philosophies and ideas, and he had to deal with the clash of multiculturalism, such as the Greeks and the Jews, who continually expressed their prejudice against one another. Paul needed to bring unity. Therefore, he used the illustration of the church as the body. Corinth was an ancient Greek city, so Paul used language that was familiar to the Greeks. The use of the body as a teaching illustration on unity was not originally Paul's idea, but was used by many of the Greek philosophers. For example, Plaistow pointed out that if my finger has a pain, the body would speak and say, I have pain. There are many different body parts, but there is one underlying single personality that unifies them all. William Barclay, in his commentary on this passage, says, there is an I, a personality, which gives unity to the many and varying parts of the body. There is a hand, and that's a foot, and there's another foot, and another hand, and here's a head, and they are all separate. But I, Sylvia, bring unity to make all of these things part of my body. And William Barclay goes on to say that what I is to the body, so Christ is to the church. It is in him that all the diverse parts find unity. Jesus Christ is no longer in the world as a human body. He no longer has a physical body. And so if he wants a task done within the world, he has to find someone to do it. If he wants a child taught in Sunday school, then he needs someone to teach. If he wants a sick person cured, he has to find a doctor to do his work. And if he needs to cry, he needs our tears. And if he wants his story told, he has to find someone to tell it. Literally, we have to be his body, his hands to do his work, his feet to run his errands, his voice to speak his words. Now, while you're on Zoom, you can look around at one another and think about that. Each one of you, including me, makes up the body of Christ. Wherever you are from, whatever culture you are from, whatever country you are from, whatever area in London you are from or in the United Kingdom, you make up the body of Christ. As Paul reached out to find a simile to effectively describe the Church of Christ, he used the human body as the comparison. We need to recognize that the analogy of the body applies to two definitions of the church. Firstly, the church universal. This is the great all-encompassing group of Christians throughout the whole world who call themselves by different names: Baptist, Church of England, Roman Catholic, Methodist, United Reformed, Pentecostal, Episcopalian, and thousands of others. Each of us a part of the whole body of Christ. And secondly, there is the local church, the church within our own country, and the church here at the Memorial Community Church. This local church, we too are part of the body of Christ in this local community, and each individual member here is a part of the body. So you see, we are all different. The diversity of our bodies is something beyond debate. No two parts of our body are identical. Not only are your feet and hands different, but your left hand and right hand are different. If we look at our bodies and we marvel at the God who has created this phenomenal piece of equipment, we have ears that hear and eyes that see and feet that walk, and none of us object to that. We don't say we wish we could smell with our toes or hear with our eye, yet all too often as the body of Christ we try to make everyone the same, everyone identical. Then we view the church as not the body of Christ, but as one member of it. You see, if we were all caught up in social concerns, we would have row after row of bleeding hearts. If we were all caught up with evangelism, we would have row after row of evangelists. If our emphasis was only on worship and praise, there would be row after row of uplifted hands. And if we took on the emphasis of the visible gifts, we would see row after row of tongues. You see, that isn't a body. A body isn't a group of tongues or feet or hands or eyes, but instead it is made up of a combination of each of the parts of the body. One this, a couple of these, and some of those. You see, even though God insists on unity, he complicates the matter by insisting on diversity. So then not only are we all the same, not only are we all different, but we are all essential to the well-being of the body. Maybe you have said, because I can't preach, I'm not a part of the body. And because I can't sing, I'm not part of the body. Or because I can't play the piano, I'm not part of the body. But we don't just need preachers or singers or musicians. We need teachers and prayer partners. We need people with technical knowledge. We need administrators and people with practical hands-on gifts. We need people who can chat, make tea and coffee, and people who can advise, and people who can help. We need befrienders, people who will listen, and people with big hearts to love and arms to hug. Paul is very adamant that each of us in our diversity plays a vital part in the body of Christ. We all need to be going in a common direction. So we face this paradox of being so dramatically different, but yet united at the same time. And this is where the problem arises, being different, but with the same purpose. But if we look at the analogy of the body, we see that in our physical bodies, the diversity and unity is essential. I can be scratching my hand, walking across the floor with my feet, seeing with my eyes and smelling with my nose, all at the same time. That's the secret of keeping the Memorial Community Church on the right path. We must be seeking the same goal. The basic goal should be to reach people and introduce them to Jesus. If your left foot wanted to go to one place and your right foot to another, you'd be in a real predicament. Unless, of course, you've ever been drunk, and you will know how easy that is. But we say, I'm going to walk over there, and the instruction leaves our brain, travels through the central nervous system, causing each of us the required parts of the body to take us on that journey. Without the cooperation and participation of their various parts of my body, sitting here speaking would be impossible. Speaking is only possible because my brain, nerves, tongue, jaw, lips, larynx, lungs, diaphragm, heart, veins, arteries, capillaries, and parts unknown to me all work together for that specific purpose. And then the same is true of the church. Each member of the body of Christ is interdependent, and the church needs all of us if it is to function properly. In a certain mountain village in Europe several centuries ago, a nobleman wondered what legacy he should leave to the people of his village. And at last he decided he would build them a church. No one saw the complete plans for the church until it was finished. And when the people gathered, they marveled at its beauty and completeness. And then someone asked, but where are the lamps? How will the church be lit? And the nobleman pointed to some brackets in the walls. Then he gave each family a lamp that they were to bring with them each time they came to worship. And the nobleman said to them, each time you come, the area where you sit will be lit. Each time you are not here, that area will be dark. This is to remind you that whenever you fail to join with your brothers and sisters in this place, some part of God's house will be dark. God has placed each one of us here in a strategic role. You are an important part of the effectiveness of this church. Everyone else is depending on you to be here and to carry out your part of the body of Christ. And when you fail to do your part, the whole church suffers. We need to be here for each other. We need to be committed to showing Christ's love to one another in practical and tangible ways. I know in this COVID time it's not so easy to do all these things and keep up with one another, but we can contact people by phone or email or text or letter or meet outside in the open. If we are fit, we can shop for people, run errands for them, pick up their prescriptions. We can share with one another on a Sunday and see or hear one another on Zoom, and also for some to meet in the church. But most of all, something that all of us can do is pray for one another. In these ways, we continue to be the body of Christ as long as we do all these things safely by following the guidance given to us to wear a mask, wash our hands, and keep a distance. Then we can continue the work of the church as the body of Christ. We need to know when one of us is hurting. And if you get up in the morning and as you walk to the bathroom barefoot, you catch your smallest toe on the door frame, what happens? Well, it will become immediately evident that you do have a small toe. Every part of your body will join in its pain. The leg and foot that is not injured will begin to jump up and down. If you can manage it, your back will bend over in order to allow your arm to reach down and your hand to rub the toe. Everything necessary for speech will join in and express words and noises you've never heard before. No part of your body will go untouched by the injury to your smallest toe. All will be affected and all will come to its aid. And this is exactly how it should be in the body of Christ. When something happens to one member of our church body, whether it is good or bad, all of the other members of the body should respond accordingly. In practical terms, this means that I cannot be blind to what is happening in your life, and you cannot be blind to what is happening in my life. If each of us is to remain a vital part of the body, we must do our part in seeing that we are in touch with all the other members of the body. We have to know if they are hurting and join in their suffering. We have to know if they are rejoicing and join in their happiness. And as we do that, then we will be, the body of Christ will move on and out into the community and begin to touch the lives of those outside, because that is where we live and move and have our being. There's a song by Casting Crowns called We Are the Body, and I end with some of those words. A traveller is far from home. He sheds his coat and quietly slips into the back row. The weight of their judgmental glances tells him that his chances are better out on the road. But we are the body. Why aren't his arms reaching? Why aren't his hands healing? Why aren't his words teaching? And if we are the body, why aren't our feet going? Why is his love not showing them there is a way? Jesus paid much too high a price for us to pick and choose who should come. And we are the body of Christ. If we are the body, why aren't his arms reaching? Why aren't his hands healing? Why aren't his words teaching? And if we are the body, why aren't his feet going? Why is his love not showing them there is a way? For we are the body of Christ.